I want to run a scenario by you. Imagine you're about to go on a long hike.
Right.
You've got the boots, the water, the trail map.
Mm-hmm.
But right before you step out the door, someone hands you a brick.
A brick.
No explanation, they just hand it to you. So, being polite, you put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
A mile later, you find a rock that looks like one you had 10 years ago, so you pick that up. Then you see a heavy piece of luggage that belongs to your neighbor, and you think, I can carry that.
Yeah. Fast forward 2 hours, you're sweating, you're exhausted, your back is killing you, and you're barely moving.
Right. And the worst part is, you don't even know why you're carrying half this stuff. This is the visual we're starting with today. But we aren't talking about hiking gear. We are talking about the invisible inventory we carry around every single day.
The concept of invisible weights. It's fascinating because in physics, weight is mass times gravity. It's measurable.
Sure.
But in the psychological realm, a burden doesn't have to have physical mass to exert a crushing force on your daily life.
That sets the stage perfectly. So welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're exploring a really evocative piece of writing. It's from a collection called The Unburdened Soul, Anvika's Choice of Lightness.
And we're specifically zooming in on episode 10, which is titled The Weight She Finally Put Down.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a departure for us.
It is. Usually we're breaking down complex systems, industry trends. This text is a narrative.
It is, but it's deceptive. It looks like a simple story about a woman named Anvika, but underneath it.
Underneath, it's a masterclass in emotional regulation and cognitive load management.
Cognitive load management. I like that. It sounds way more professional than freaking out because I have too much to do.
Well, it's essentially, yes.
So the mission for this deep dive is to deconstruct Anvika's journey, right? To understand the mechanics of release.
And we want to figure out the difference, and it's a critical distinction between being careless
and being light. And just a heads up for everyone listening, we are going to keep the vibe a little calmer today. This isn't high-energy motivation. This is about reflection.
It is. So let's meet Anvika. The text introduces her not by how she looks, but by how she moves through the world. It says, Anvika carried it quietly.
That word quietly, it's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It really is.
Because if you're physically carrying a couch up a flight of stairs, everyone knows.
Oh,
You're grunting, people are holding doors, you get sympathy. But this, no one sees it.
Exactly. There's no external validation for enduring invisible stress. In fact, society often rewards the person who carries the most without complaining.
We call them reliable or stoic.
Right. But the source material, it breaks down exactly what was in this invisible inventory Anvika was hauling around. It lists 3 specific categories.
Let's unpack these because I have a feeling most of us are going to find ourselves on this list. The first item is old expectations.
Old expectations. Now, pay attention to the adjective there. It doesn't say bad expectations.
It says old, which implies they were probably valid at some point.
Precisely.
Yeah.
This touches on a psychological concept called identity lag.
Identity lag.
Okay. It's when your self-perception hasn't caught up to your current reality. Maybe 5 years ago, Anvika needed to be the person who said yes to everything to build her career.
Sure, that makes sense.
That was a valid expectation. But she's still carrying it now when it no longer serves her.
It's like keeping the driver software installed for a printer you threw away in 2018. It's just running in the background, taking up space.
That is a great analogy, but it's stickier than software because old expectations are often tied to people.
Right. Parents, mentors.
Past versions of ourselves. To drop the expectation feels like a betrayal.
That's the hard part. It's not just clutter, it's loyalty. If I stop acting the way my mentor taught me 10 years ago, am I ungrateful?
Right. But the text suggests that carrying a winter coat in July isn't loyalty, it's just inefficiency.
It's inertia.
It's inertia. Okay, let's look at the second item in her backpack. This one is rough.
Unspoken guilt.
This is the most dangerous one on the list.
Why do you say that?
Because of the unspoken part. In psychology, there's something called the Zeigarnik effect. Essentially, it states that the human brain remembers uncompleted tasks much better than completed ones.
It creates a cognitive tension.
An open loop.
Yeah.
Exactly, an open loop. When guilt is spoken, when you apologize, make amends, even just confess it to a friend, you're closing the loop. You're filing the file.
But unspoken guilt.
That's a file that stays open on your desktop forever.
So it's constantly pinging your brain. Hey, remember that thing? Hey, you're a bad person. Hey, fix this.
And that drains your battery. The text uses the word calcifies. It suggests that because she kept it inside, it got harder and heavier. It became a permanent structure in her mind.
Not just a passing emotion.
Not at all.
That leads us to the third item, and I think this is the one that's going to hit home for the high achievers listening. Responsibilities she had accepted without question.
Ah, yes. The competence trap.
The competence trap.
It's the curse of the capable. If you're good at catching balls, people will keep throwing them at you.
And if you're like Anvika, you accept them without question.
Because you conflate capacity with obligation.
Meaning, I can do this, therefore I must do this.
Exactly. But I want to push back on that logic. Just because you have a pickup truck doesn't mean you're required to help every single person in the city move their furniture.
But isn't that what being a good person is? Helping? I feel like if I started saying no to things I could easily do, I'm being selfish.
That is the fear, isn't it? But look at the cost. The text says these invisible weights shape how you live every day. We're talking about opportunity cost.
Okay.
If Anvika is carrying everyone else's luggage, she has no hands free for her own map. She isn't just being helpful, she's being hijacked.
Hijacked. That's a strong word.
Big there.
So we have Anvika. She's suffering from identity lag with these old expectations. She's got the Zygarnik effect running riot with unspoken guilt.
And she's stuck in the competence trap. She is burdened, but she's doing it quietly.
And usually in stories like this, or even in real life, this is the part where the person crashes.
Burnout, the heart attack, the divorce, the moment where the system fails.
But that's not what happens here. The turning point isn't an explosion. It's a question.
It's a moment of internal inquiry. The text says she asked herself.
What if she didn't carry it anymore?
Yeah.
It sounds so simple, 7 words. But you've argued that this is actually a really difficult question to ask. Why?
Because it's subversive. It challenges the status quo of her entire existence.
But wouldn't you be relieved to ask that, hey, maybe I can put this down?
Not necessarily, because the moment you ask, what if I didn't carry it, you're acknowledging that carrying it is a choice.
Oh, I see where you're going.
As long as Anvika feels like she has to carry it, she's a victim of circumstance. It's hard, sure, but it's not her fault.
Right.
But if she realizes she has the power to put it down, then she suddenly becomes responsible for her own misery if she keeps holding it.
That is terrifying. Victimhood is safer.
Victimhood, even the noble, quiet martyr kind, is safe because it requires no action. Agency is scary.
Agency requires you to make a decision. It requires you to risk disappointing people. So that question, what if she didn't carry it anymore, is basically her pulling the bottom block out of the Jenga tower of her personality.
Exactly. It creates a crisis of identity. If I am not the reliable one who carries everything...
Then who am I?
Right, and that leads right into the core conflict the source material brings up, the fear. Specifically, the fear of being careless.
This is the biggest mental block to release. We are, I think, culturally conditioned to believe that worrying equals caring.
We absolutely are.
Right. If I'm not stressed about the project, I must not care about the project. If I'm not losing sleep over my friend's problem, I'm a bad friend.
We equate suffering with love or suffering with work ethic. So the idea of letting go feels like negligence. It feels like you're just tossing the baby out with the bathwater.
But the text hits us with this counterargument, and I love this line. Letting go didn't make her careless, it made her lighter.
Let's deconstruct that. Careless versus light.
Okay, play devil's advocate for a second, though. If I just stop carrying my old expectations and my responsibilities, isn't there a real risk that I actually do become careless?
Well, risk, sure.
That things fall through the cracks?
It depends on how you define letting go. Carelessness is blindness. It's throwing your trash on the ground because you can't be bothered to find a bin.
It's ignoring consequences.
That's not what Anvika did.
So what did she do?
She chose what truly mattered. Think about a surgeon in an operating room.
Okay.
A surgeon is not thinking about whether they left the stove on. They aren't thinking about the fight they had with their spouse. They aren't thinking about their taxes. They have let go of absolutely everything.
Except the patient in front of them.
Exactly. Would you call that surgeon careless?
Absolutely not. You would call them focused.
That is lightness. Lightness isn't about doing nothing. It's about stripping away the static so you can tune into the signal.
So Anvika isn't dropping the ball. She's clearing the deck.
She's exercising discernment. She's looking at that pile of rocks and saying, this one is mine. I will carry it with honor. This one belongs to my neighbor. I am giving it back.
It's like Marie Kondoing your soul. Does this spark joy? Goodbye.
It's a bit deeper than joy, though. It's about survival. It's about recognizing that you have a finite amount of energy.
Which brings us to the three core lessons the text pulls out of Anvika's experience. The first one is exactly what we just touched on. Not all burdens are yours to carry.
This is a boundary lesson. And it's a tough one because we often think we're helping by carrying someone else's burden.
I'll just do it for you. It's easier.
Right. But by doing that, you might be robbing them of their own growth. And you are definitely crushing yourself.
So Anvika realized that just because she could carry it didn't mean it belonged to her.
Exactly. Lesson number 2, letting go is not failure. This one is for the grit enthusiasts.
Oh, the grit narrative.
Yeah.
We live in a world that fetishizes endurance. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Winners never quit.
It's everywhere. So when you put a burden down, your internal monologue screams, you failed, you weren't strong enough.
You couldn't hack it.
And the sunk cost fallacy kicks in here too. I've carried this for 10 years. If I put it down now, those 10 years were wasted.
Oof, that's a real trap.
But the text reframes this. It's not failure, it's strategic release. It's realizing that sinking with the ship isn't a strategy, it's just drowning.
Survival requires jettisoning cargo sometimes.
Exactly. And that leads to the third lesson, which I think is the payoff, the so what of the entire deep dive.
Lightness brings clarity.
Clarity. This is the physiological result of release.
Explain the mechanism there. How does putting down a heavy bag help my eyes work better?
It comes down to cognitive bandwidth. When you're under heavy load, whether it's physical weight or emotional, unspoken guilt, your brain is in survival mode.
Fight or flight.
You're in a sympathetic nervous system state. You're just trying to get through the day.
And when you're in that state, your focus narrows.
It's called cognitive tunneling. You can only see the immediate threat. You're looking at your feet, trying not to trip. You physically cannot see the horizon.
So you lose the big picture.
Completely. When Anvika releases that weight, she isn't just feeling better. She is freeing up processing power. She reclaims her prefrontal cortex.
The part of the brain that plans and dreams.
Yes. The text says she could now choose what truly mattered. You cannot prioritize when you are drowning. Prioritization is a luxury of the calm mind.
Lightness clears the clutter so you can actually see the room.
That's it.
So we have the release, we have the lessons. Now let's look at the outcome. The story wraps up with this line. With that weight gone, her journey began to feel different.
Note the wording carefully there. It doesn't say her journey became easy.
Right. She didn't win the lottery. The hills were still there. The weather was still the weather.
But it felt different. This is the crucial takeaway. We often wait for external circumstances to change. I'll feel better when I get a new job. I'll feel better when my kids grow up.
We outsource our peace to the universe.
Anvika didn't change the path. She changed how she was walking it. It's the difference between walking a mile with a sharp stone in your shoe
versus walking that same mile in comfortable sneakers.
The distance is the same. The effort is totally different.
That brings us back to that thumbnail text for the source. She let it go.
Simple. Final.
It evokes that physical sensation. You know when you've been carrying heavy grocery bags for way too long and the plastic handles are digging into your fingers?
And then you drop them on the counter.
That rush of blood back into your hands, that floaty feeling where your arms feel like they're rising up on their own.
Relief. It's the biological reward for stopping the unnecessary struggle.
So let's bring this home to you, listening right now. We've analyzed the psychology. We've talked about the Zeigarnik effect and the competence trap. What do you actually do with this?
I think the first step is the inventory. You can't put down what you don't acknowledge you're carrying.
So look for the old expectations.
Yes. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it matters today or because it mattered 10 years ago? That's identity lag. Catch it.
And look for the unspoken guilt.
Close those open loops. Send the text. Make the apology. Or just write it down and burn the paper. But get it out of your RAM.
And look for the responsibilities accepted without question.
This is the hardest one. It requires you to disappoint people. But remember the surgeon. You have to clear the field to focus on the patient.
You have to say no to the noise, to say yes to the signal. And remember, the goal isn't to stop caring. It's to be light enough to see clearly.
Because when you're light, you can pivot, you can adapt. When you're burdened, you're just stuck.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We talked about how lightness brings clarity.
Which means heaviness brings blindness.
Exactly. So here is the question I want you to carry with you today. And it's the only thing you should be carrying. What is the one specific thing in your life right now that you are unable to see clearly? Simply because You're too busy holding on to something that isn't yours.
That's the question.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.